Hello and welcome for another new video. A video which is going to be, of course, quite different quite a little bit different from the previous two videos. Why? Because in this video I'm not going to focus on an expression of like the ones that I covered in the first and the second video, but in today's video we're gonna look at another new kinds of video, which is of course going to be about a topic which is really a very unique and a very interesting topic. And of course the topic is related to communication and how this communication changes into a competence that people, especially students, use in real life contexts or real life situations. So when talking of communicative competence, we need to consider four important components, which are, of course, as follows: grammatical competence, sociolinguistic competence, discourse competence, and the last one, which is the best one, is strategic competence, which really I favor a lot. And of course, the key reason why I do favor this one, it's gonna be covered in the next moments to come. So please be there until the last moment of this video, and you're gonna discover the key reason why I favor strategic competence over the other components. Okay, so. What's more, each of these components is going to be well defined in the moments to come. And of course, I'm going to provide examples for each and every component to make you come up with a very good understanding of this notion. So thank you for watching and stay there until the last moment of this video. Okay, the best and the first thing to start with this video is to ask you a very big question. What is communicative competence? What is communicative competence? This is a very big question. It looks simple, but actually it is really the very big question to ask, even to experts. So let's together discover what does communicative competence mean. Okay, it of course refers to that capability or ability or the intelligence that someone has to communicate accurately, effectively, accurately and effectively in different contexts, different real life situations, using cohesion and coherence. And of course we're gonna explain all of those notions that you might not know. Okay, so we have got accurately, effectively, context, and the last one, cohesion and coherence. All of those notions are going to be covered in terms of the meaning and in terms of whatever that we use them for in terms of communicative competence. Okay, so communicative competence is of course based on four elements, four components, which are of course grammatical competence, sociolinguistic competence, discourse competence, and the last one, which I said before, the best one and the one I favor a lot, strategic competence. Okay, so for the strategic competence, the one I like and the one I favor a lot over the others, of course, when we say strategic competence, we mean we speak effectively. We speak effectively, and of course, we try to we try to solve some problems while speaking to a person. Okay, and the next one is grammatical competence, which refers to speaking with accuracy, speaking accurately, and do you pay attention to not to make mistakes or not to put words not you put the words in the wrong places. If you do so, then the meaning is going to be lost automatically. So the third is context. Okay, so sociolinguistic competence refers to contexts, situations in which we speak with a person. Okay, and the last one, discourse competence. Discourse competence refers to cohesion and coherence. Cohesion means the form, and coherence means the meaning. So when we speak, of course, we give either our spoken or written language or written English, we give it a form and a meaning. So when we speak, we make a form, we make a structure, we put all the words in the right places that we're gonna make that our sentence or the sentences that we're gonna make, of course, sense. We're gonna make sense to the person who's gonna listen, who's gonna receive, and of course, depending on what you're gonna say, is going to decode the meaning that we, of course, included in the sentence that we sent him or her. Okay, so let's not go quite deeper at this level of this video, but later we're gonna, of course, discuss those things in further details. So right now, let me take you through the next and the best slide, in which we're gonna discover something which is very important, and which, of course, I would like you to put it like a plan in your mind when you would like to remember those four elements of communicative competence. Okay, so as you see, this is, of course, the four elements are diagrammed in this as you see. So and of course this, of course, proves and shows that there is a big relationship and a great relationship among those four elements, okay, which all together form what we call communicative competence. All of these four elements, like one coin. So removing a face of the coin, of course, necessitates removing the other face of the coin. So they either go together or they stay together. So they are very important, and there are none of these components is quite important or more important than the others. No, they are equally important, and they are equally vital and crucial in terms of making a very good communication, and in terms of building and improving and posting what we call communicative competence. So communicative competence depends on those four components. So let's discover the first important key element or component of communicative competence, which is, of course, grammatical competence. So what is a grammatical competence? Why do we need the grammatical competence? Is grammatical competence that important for our communication when we communicate with a person in a very specific context, or in a real life situation or context? That's what we're gonna discover all together. Okay, so grammatical competence is the knowledge of grammar, lexis, phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics, to name but a few. There are a lot of things related to related to grammar. Grammar is that broad and notion, which of course which is of course split into different areas. Okay, of course grammar is all about the lexis. When we say lexis, we of course mean vocabulary. So vocabulary, phonology is all about sounds formation. So the word before we make a word, of course, we start with sounds. So sounds build up words. So we put the sounds together, and then we get the words, or we get the words. Phonology is all about sounds and places, manners, and places and manners of articulations, stress, intonation, all of those things that we need, especially when we write or when we speak a language. When it comes to morphology, it's all about words formation. It's all about words formation. Okay, how we build up words how we build up words. Okay, and the syntax, it's all about sentence. Okay, and the structure and the sentence, how we build up sentences, put in each and every part of speech in the right place, then we're gonna get a well built and well formed sentence. Okay, and the semantics is all about meaning. So after respecting all of those areas of grammar or linguistics, we come up with the last product, the last fruit, which is semantics. So semantics is when we make a very good sentence that includes, or that has got a meaning. Of course, semantics is there at the same time with that sentence. Okay, so grammatical competence is all about, or is that ability to produce and recognize well-formed, which means grammatical sentences, well-formed phrases and sentences. Well-formed, which means the sentences that you're gonna make or you're gonna build should abide by the rules that we have got in grammar. So without using grammar, of course, the sentences that you're gonna make, maybe they're gonna lose, or maybe they're gonna miss the meaning, or they're not going to be able to convey the message that you want to of course send to the receiver or the person listening to you. Okay, so it is an ability to produce, to make, to build, and recognize when you receive a message from a person, well formed in phrases and sentences. Let me give you an example at this level to make you better understand what do we mean by a grammatical competence. A grammatical competence refers to the way we build a sentence, and of course the sentence that we build is going to communicate a meaning to the person we are talking to. Okay, so let's have a look at two sentences, and you of course discover the difference between those two sentences. I speak gooder than you. Do you think that this sentence is grammatically built? No, because this word has nothing to do with English. This is actually what, let me give you, I grant you some moments to think about whether we have got this word in English or we don't have it in English. Of course, this word has nothing to do with English. Okay, so I speak gooder than you. Personally speaking, I've never heard someone using this word in English. So this sentence is not actually grammatical. It is in grammatical sentence. In grammatical sentence, specifically speaking, of course, it doesn't respect the what we call that in that the inflectional rules that we have got in English. Okay, so I speak gooder than you, and grammatical. And then after amending, after changing the sentence into another perfect one, then it becomes the following one. I speak better than you do. I speak better than you do. This sentence looks perfect, beautiful, and of course it is to the point, and it, of course, once you say it, it makes sense to the person you are speaking to, or to the person you are talking with. So it is, of course, 100% grammatical sentence. Everyone or every person you are speaking to or with is going to understand that you speak English better than the another person. Okay, I speak better than you do. This is, of course, not acceptable in terms of grammar. It's not grammatically built, so it is not acceptable. It is not, of course, a good sentence, thanks or because of this word that is not well built. Okay, as we said in the definition above. Good. So that's what we mean. That's what we mean by grammatical competence. Grammatical competence is really that very important component that we need when we want to improve our students' communicative competence. Now let's move on to the next slide, in which we're going to, of course, focus on the second aspect or component of the communicative competence. It is, of course, as you see, sociolinguistic competence. Sociolinguistic competence, it is the second or the another important component of communicative competence. Without sociolinguistic competence, of course, it's gonna be like something missing in the communication, especially when you communicate. Before we go through the definition and why do we need the sociolinguistic competence and why is it important, I'd like to invite you to have a look at this picture that we have got all together. We have got in this slide. This is a very good example of sociolinguistic. So give this word, which is actually not only one word but two words embedded together to make actually one word. Okay, so socio refers to society, linguistic refers to all of the knowledge you have got about a language. Okay, in this picture, we, of course, this is a very good example to exemplify, by which we can exemplify sociolinguistic. Sociolinguistic requires two important things: a society, a person to whom you're going to talk, and a means or tool that you're going to use to talk with the person. So in this context, or in this in this picture, we have got a context in which we have got a customer and a waiter. So the waiter is, of course, waiting for the of course there is a communication taking place right now. So the customer is going to, of course, we still don't know what this customer is going to say, and depending on what he's going to say, the waiter is going to, of course, talk according to what he has ordered. Okay, so in this picture, it is, of course, showing that there is a sociolinguistic process, which is, of course, taking place par excellence. Okay, so have a look. So the social context is where there are some specific norms, values, beliefs, and behavioral patterns of culture. Good, perfect. And what does sociolinguistic mean exactly or specifically is that ability to recognize the effect of context, those effects on strings of linguistics events, and to use language appropriately. Okay, to use the language appropriately in specific social situations. Let me give you an example of how you, of course, use a language appropriately in specific social situations. If you are at the grocery, of course, you're gonna use an informal language. Yeah, right. So you are at the grocery shop, and you're gonna, of course, ask the grocery agent or person to give you some products or some products that you're gonna some groceries that you're gonna, of course, buy. You in this context, specifically, you're not going to use that formal language. Okay, so the language that you're going to use at this level or in this situation is a very informal language. So you're going to use an informal language. But when you are at for example, when you are at the Parliament House or attending a Parliament House meeting with representatives of the Parliament House in this very specific, as we said, in this very specific social situation, you're not going to be free to use whatever you want, but you're gonna pay attention to each and every word that you're gonna get out of your mouth. So you pay attention to whatever you're going to use. So you use a very specific language to a very specific moment and situation. And of course, at the same time, you avoid what doesn't suit the situation you are in. I hope that you have grasped and understood what sociolinguistic competence stands for. Okay, so of course, in a sociolinguistic competence, there is something which is really important, and is one of the pillars that, of course, takes place or occurs in this process, which is social context. Of course, social context affects what you say. That's what I have explained before. So when you say, the time when you say it, and of course the manner you say it, how you say it. So either it's gonna be formal or informal. So the formal or informal. So it affects even the social context. It also affects the way or the manner you're gonna say what you're gonna say, and the time. Of course, it affects the time as well. Okay, and of course it affects what kind of language you're gonna say, what kind of language you're gonna specifically say in that context. And lastly, it affects the person you are saying it to. It affects the person you are saying it to at the same time. So sociolinguistic competence is that very important element of competence, communicative competence, and which of course I advise all the teachers all over the world to of course take it in considerations while teaching, not only while teaching in the classrooms, because we need to have our students to use the language that they get in a formal context, to get the language that they learn in a formal context. We would like them to use it in an informal context. So we would like to see them to use what they get in the classroom outside of the classroom. Okay, so in all the different contexts. Good. And now let's move on to the third component, which is of course one of the most important pillars that we have got in communicative competence, which is discourse competence. Discourse competence is that very important component, and we cannot teach English or French or Arabic or whatever language that you are going to teach to your students. You can teach away from discourse competence. Discourse competence is the ability to connect sentences coherently. Okay, so the ability to connect sentences coherently. Okay, so the two main aspects of discourse competence are cohesion and coherence. Let's have a look. What does each of these elements stands for? So cohesion means, it refers to the meaning. So, it refers to the form. It refers to the form of what you're gonna say, and coherence refers to the meaning. So to the meaning, exactly. Good. Discourse competence entails two important aspects, or two important key elements, which are cohesion and coherence. Of course, when we speak, we make sentences, we make good sentences. When we write, of course, we write using sentences. Those sentences should be put all together in a cohesive way. So, of course, you're gonna start with the topic sentence. Then you're gonna develop the topic sentence. So by developing the topic sentence, given other supporting ideas, so those supporting ideas that you're gonna include after the topic sentence should be connected cohesively. So you're gonna use connectors, very good connectors, or connectors that gonna of course suit the context you have written. Okay, so after you of course build up sentences, and you put all of the blocks of the sentences together, if you have made cohesion, of course the result is going to be the coherence. So cohesion results in giving coherence. Coherence is the message that the reader is going to get after reading your paragraph or your essay or an article or whatever text that you have come up with. So cohesion and coherence are interrelated. Okay, they go together. So they are interrelated. They go together. If there is no cohesion, of course, there is no coherence. And if there is no coherence, of course, there will be no cohesion at the first place. So they are of course, discourse competence is all about coherence and cohesion. So please pay attention to cohesion and coherence while speaking and writing. Good. So cohesion refers to using linking expressions, as I said before, such as conjunctions or adverbial phrases to connect ideas. A coherent text is one that makes sense After you build up good sentences one after the other, of course you're going to come up with a good paragraph, and that good paragraph is going to convey a message which is a coherent, which is thanks to that coherent text that you make, or that you build, you're going to of course convey a message in a very good, or and you're going to come up with a text that makes of course sense to the person who's going to read your text or your paragraph or your essay. And to exemplify what I have been talking about in terms of discourse competence, brought you this diagram or these pictures. So for example, let's imagine that you are asked to write a good paragraph about why do you like English, or why do you study English. So this is a big question. You're going to of course make a paragraph talking about the reasons, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 reasons why you study English. Good. So imagine that you're going to start with this is the paragraph, maybe this is the topic sentence, this is the supporting idea number 1. This is the supporting number. This is the topic sentence. This is the supporting idea number 1, and this is the supporting idea supporting idea number 1, reason number 1, and this is reason number 2, and this is of course conclusion sentence. This is just an example to make you better understand what do we mean by discourse competence in terms of written English. Of course, so when you put those things all together, these pieces all together, you come up with something that makes sense. Okay, you come up with something which makes sense. Okay, let's have a look at another form. So now you of course you have got a task to do, but of course you did not come up with a very good sentence which respects the two elements, coherence and cohesion. So if there is no cohesion, of course coherence is gonna find no place where cohesion is taking place. So if you don't write, or if you don't respect the procedures and the things that you need to use, of course you're gonna come up with a scrambled paragraph, which means that the sentences and the ideas that and the supporting ideas that you include in this paragraph are not actually put in unscrambled way. So, and the result is gonna be something like this, and of course it's gonna affect the cohesion. It's gonna affect the cohesion and the coherence, and it's gonna affect of course the coherence as well, and the meaning is gonna lost, and nothing is gonna be there in your paragraph, and nobody is gonna understand what you wrote in that paragraph. Okay, so now let's move on to the next and the last component of communicative competence, which is of course strategic competence, and the one that I favor a lot. Okay, it actually refers to the ability, of course, ability to overcome, to find solutions. Overcome means to find solutions. Difficulties to overcome solutions or find solutions when communication breakdowns occur. Sometimes when you're talking with a person, it happens to each and everyone to forget a word, or to forget a word in this situation. If you happen to forget a word, of course what's gonna happen is immediately is gonna stop. You're gonna stop. So the flow of the communication is going to stop. So when the flow stops, the flow of the communication stops, of course the process is gonna stop, and then this is gonna affect you, especially when you are sitting for an interview with an interviewer. So in that moment he's gonna understand that you're not that capable of talking using English. Maybe you're not that knowledgeable person, or maybe you don't have that much repertoire of vocabulary. So all of these scenarios might come through, might come through the mind of the person interviewing you. So please pay attention. This is a strategic competence, and of course, people need to be trained how to use the strategic competence. Of course, through training, you're gonna get the way how you can use those strategies, especially when you are talking with a person more knowledgeable or more having a lot than what you know. So in that situations, of course, you need what we call strategic competence. Okay, so breakdowns occur. I was of course giving you an example, but okay, the example I was giving you is that one which when you are of course explaining or talking about something, and it happens that you find a word and you don't know how to and you don't know the actually it doesn't mean that you don't know the word, but the context or the situation in which you are talking, you forgot the word. So the word doesn't want to come through your mind. So it doesn't want to come your mind the moment you are talking. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to use a technique or a strategy. That's why I said in the beginning, this is the reason why I prefer strategic competence, because it is really that key competence that helps people solve some situations in which they are talking. Okay, and to avoid being affected, especially when you are sitting for an interview. Good. So if you happen to forget a word, what you're gonna do, you're gonna use the strategy of using a circumlocution. Use a strategy of circumlocution. Circumlocution means that you're gonna use a group of words to explain a word that you forgot. For example, if you happen to forget, maybe nobody is gonna forget this word, but just to give you this example to make things better, and everyone is gonna understand the example. If you happen to forget the word kitchen, maybe it depends. Okay, if you forget the word kitchen when you're talking or explaining something, you're gonna represent it by using a group of words, and you're gonna say this is a place where we cook, where we make foods. So this is one of the strategies. That's why I said strategic competence is really the important element of competence, of communicative competence. So please pay much more attention to these strategic competence, because it's of course going to help you a lot in the years to come in your life. So please extra careful should be given or put for this in place for this strategic competence. Okay, so breakdown is a failure. Breakdown is a failure of malfunction in the flow of communication, which means, simply put, when you don't know what to do in a situation, when you are blocked, or when you forget a word, or maybe there is something else, maybe I don't know, or if you don't understand what the interviewer is saying to you, what you're gonna do, you're gonna use a technique which is paraphrasing. Do you mean, or maybe you're gonna use that technique which is the technique understanding chicken. Yes, Understanding, checking. You're gonna check the understanding. You don't understand what the interviewer has asked you about exactly. You're gonna say, do you mean that, or you use techniques like this? Do you mean that I have to talk about this, or do you mean that? Do you mean so? You're gonna say, do you mean, or any other technique that helps you overcome the difficulty or the difficult situation, of course, in which you are put. So it's really important, and I advise you to use that strategic competence, and that's the reason why I said in the introduction of this video that I favor strategic competence over the others. Why? But all of them are important. But personally speaking, honestly speaking, I prefer strategic competence. All of them are important, but this one, of course, which is really important for me because I really favor it over the others. Okay, so types of barriers. There are a lot of barriers: physical barrier, mental barrier, and linguistic barrier. So linguistic barrier, so when you are in a situation you don't know how to talk or how to express yourself in terms of saying a message or sending a message. If you don't know how to express an idea to the person you are talking to, this is what we call a lack of language or mental barrier. A mental barrier is a lack of confidence. So you start feeling anxious. Anxiety takes over you. So this is really very bad, and which of course I really would like those who are anxious to stop or to train themselves not to have that confidence in what, of course, they're gonna say or in what they're gonna present or what they're gonna write. Okay, so for physical barrier, maybe noise, maybe when you are explaining or when the person is talking. Is talking and suddenly a noise takes place the moment he was asking you, then you're gonna, of course, that's how we that's a kind of physical barrier. Okay, so I hope that you better understand strategic competence, and because it is one of the most elements of communicative competence. And to conclude this video, I think that all of those four elements are really the important elements, and which of course I advise you to put them together when you are teaching communicative competence. And of course, by using all of these, by putting all of them in practice in your classrooms, of course they're gonna give you very good progress, or they're gonna feel the progress in your students. So I advise you to start taking all of these things into your considerations in terms of teaching communicative competence. Okay, so and the remedies to use when you are in a situation or to overcome a difficult situation is comprehension checks or understanding checks. Paraphrase, use a technique or the technique of a paraphrasing, conversation failures. All of those are remedies that you can use when you are in a very in a difficult situations in which you have forgotten, or maybe you don't know the word, or something. It happens to each and every one. Okay, so have a look at this picture. This is an example of how communication breakdown takes place. Okay, we have got two persons talking. Now we're gonna see what kind of breakdown we have got in this picture, or we have got between those two persons. Okay, you promised to submit the report by 4 p.m. This is a manager. Okay, let's see how the staff is gonna respond. Oops, ouch, I thought you want it tomorrow. Okay, this is of course a lack of understanding. So when this one, or when the manager asked or requested the report to be submitted by 4 p.m., the staff or this person did not pay attention to what he said. That's why he did not pay attention to what he said, and of course he did not use one of these. He did not overcome the difficulties when he watched, and he did not overcome that difficulty he had when he was in communication with his manager. So that's why the breakdown happens par excellence. That's why he's saying, "Oops, I thought you wanted tomorrow." So he did not use comprehension checks. Comprehension checks. So if he has used comprehension checks, he's not going to be in this difficult situation. Okay? So this is one of this is an example in which you an example that exemplifies how breakdown takes place between two persons or more than two persons when they are in communication. I hope that I was felicitous in providing you with a very good idea about what communicative competence means, and of course, thank you, Benj, for watching this video. I hope you will take use of this video for your next teachings, and thank you for watching it, and see you next video. Bye bye for now.